What's up, people of the world? It's your boy, Pat Hilton, and your boy, Ty Lassiter. We're live.
Hey, guys, ready to go this week talking about building a team.
Absolutely. Got to have a team. Our boy, Uncle G, was just talking about it on Instagram.
That's funny. You said that coming in this morning. I was like, oh, that's nice. It's kind of perfect.
It's in people's heads this morning already,
exactly.
So that means we're on the right frequency. We're going to give you guys the intro, and we'll be right back. Cast coming in fast. Relative info on investments that will smash. Miss out on this, you'll be coming in last. Acoustic force, bringing the intro blast.
Hey, this is Vanilla Ice, and I'm chilling with my man, Ty Lassiter. And I want to tell you, one command: stop, collaborate, and listen. Key City Capital is about to throw down. So get it how you live it, and always remember, cast, baby. Bet.
I have had a number of sellers that have told us that we got the deal because we touched their property, we touched them, we had marketing to them, we were in front of them more often than our competition was.
We're back. We're live at Key City Capital. What's going on, man?
Oh, man, have a crushing week going forward this week. Had a good week last week.
Yep.
Raised quite a bit of capital.
Awesome.
And building our team out. Malia was interviewing a couple of people this morning on second round interviews. And so that's kind of perfect for what we're talking about today and building out a team. We're in the process. Malia and Matt and Evan, our acquisitions manager, are headed out to Denver at the end of this week for some training on some of our CRM systems. And so when they get back next week, we've got 2 new people starting. So
wow.
Exciting about that.
And you guys train a lot. We've talked about this quite a bit. You guys put a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of energy into training and keeping up with the marketplace.
Yeah, I'm a huge advocate. I mean, I study what other big businesses, what other CEOs, company owners are doing and what is successful for them, and then figure out how we can implement that into our business. And so if you'll notice, like, you've got Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak with Apple, and you've got Elon Musk with Tesla.
He's big time.
Richard Branson, and people like this with Amazon and Microsoft. I follow these big companies, Starbucks, and what do they all do? And typically it starts out with a person who has an idea, and it's a phenomenal idea, but typically the person that has the idea is not an implementer, right? And I'm the same way. Like, I come up with really good ideas for business and things like that, but I am terrible at implementing the whole process that it needs to take in order to take that idea from an idea to a product or a sellable income, right? Something that can generate income. Like, I am not the transactional type person. And then we've got people like Jeannie that we're hiring next week, and she is like, just talking to her, it's transactional. Mac is very transactional, and like, you give them a process, you tell them what the end product you want, and you give them the idea, and they're going to build out that process, and they're going to implement everything in order to get you to the end point. Then you've got like Malia or Lee. Both of them are very, very good at putting the right people in place, people that are going to do very well, like our sales team, right? We've got a little bit of differences between our sales team and our acquisitions team, or our dispositions team. So we've got acquisitions and dispositions on our property, and then we've got a sales team that sells our other products and things like that. So somebody that's on the phone with acquiring properties is a different type of phone banger than the person that's on the phone selling a property.
Right.
Whether it's a retail sale that we do a lot of our own in-house retail sales. We've got in-house real estate agents and things like that on our sales team, but we do our owner financing, we do our rentals and things like that. And so you've got different types of people, and they react differently on the phone in both positions, right? And so we've got scripts for a lot of that stuff, but Malia is very good at saying, okay, this person's going to be very good at being on the phone and making 150 phone calls a day with motivated sellers, right? This person is going to be much better at walking an owner finance person through and getting their down payment out of them and putting them into a property.
You got to
right?
focus on strengths.
Exactly. And so I'm a huge advocate of finding what people are good at and finding the need that we have within our company and hiring a professional at that job, right? Somebody that is really good at doing this, somebody that's really good at doing this, right? And so that way I take myself out of doing what I'm not good at doing and I'm not going to do. And then I make sure that the things that have to get done are getting done by somebody who's skilled at doing that. But then once we get them into that, you've got a person who has talent, and then you've got a person who is successful. Well, the difference between talent and successful, look at it in like professional athletes. I study professional athletes a lot too, and what gets them to where they're at. And so what that is you have people that are born with God-given talent, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can go to the Bronx and you can watch some street ball game and you're going to see some guy that has massive talent at playing basketball.
Absolutely.
Right? But then you put him on a court with a team, a professional caliber team, and he can't correlate and he doesn't perform because he's not refined his talent.
Right.
It's all self-utilized and he's not a team player yet, right? And he doesn't know the full aspects of the game. He hasn't taken his talent and refined it. And so that's where we implement training. And so we have a monthly budget for each of our teams. Like our sales team goes through sales training. Our acquisitions team goes through real estate training. Our like Malia and Matt, our managers, our upper level managers, go through CRM training and train on the systems that they're using, right? And so we've got 3 of our people going out to Denver next week for 4 days for a training with the CEO of one of our CRM systems.
Wow.
And they'll learn, the best ways. We've been using 2 CRM systems for a long time. We're rolling over and going to just one of them. And so I want to be super efficient. I don't need to know the ins and outs of every bit of that system. I need to know how the system runs. And I need to know that when we have data and we put data in, we get the data out that we want, right?
Right.
And that's all I need to know. But I need somebody that's running that to know the ins and outs of the system so that they're the most efficient and effective with that system.
I love that.
And so we've got a construction model in that system. So that's why Matt is going. We've got an acquisitions model in that CRM system that will provide us a lot of our data for motivated sellers for our marketing. So that's why our acquisitions manager is going. And then Malia, our COO, she runs our acquisitions, dispositions, and sales team. So I need her to know all of it so that she can train when we've got new people coming in.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff.
It is.
And the pro sports thing I love because it's something I can kind of understand because we've all watched sports a lot. And we were talking on text the other day about people always use that quote, the Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, which is totally true. You gotta fire to score.
Right.
But what they don't understand is that he had 2.5 times as many assists as he did goals, and he was the best goal scorer of all time in the history of the NHL.
Yeah.
He was a playmaker more than he was a goal scorer.
Absolutely. And you look at any of the sports, right? Like Michael Jordan, like he scored phenomenally, right? But he knew how to when he brought the focus to him, he knew how to dispose to his assets, right? And then when he was disposing to his other assets on his team, he knew when to take control of the game, right? And I don't remember his statistics about how many shots that he missed over the ones that he made, but just that statement there, right? That you miss 100% of the ones that you don't take. If you're not taking, if you're not taking action, then you're not going to succeed, right? Like if you're so afraid to fail, then you're never going to succeed. Like I've failed way more times than I succeeded, right?
Oh, yeah.
But if you succeed in 10% of the opportunities that you take, if you're taking action on a high number of opportunities, then you're going to be highly successful, right? And so we track our days. Like I use my Legacy Builder planner that I've kind of created around my planning and scheduling. So it's not just a straight calendar. It calendars out my days, but then I focus on priorities and what's priority. But then I also focus on documenting our successes, because
tracking the
you
wins.
need to work on your failures, but you don't want to focus on those, right? So figure out what you did wrong so that you can move to a success. But once I started documenting my successes, I've realized that it only takes 50 good days out of a year. So out of your 365 days, if you have 50 documented, successful days, you're going to be a multimillionaire, right? And so last year, like we tracked it every Friday but one. We had 51 Fridays that were highly successful days. And so we track this. Our team, we use our Google Calendar, and we track our good days there as well and share all this information.
It's good info for you guys.
And so we had 51 phenomenal Fridays. And then we had a number of other days, random days, Mondays, Wednesdays, whatever it was, that were thrown into the mix. And last year was when we hit our $10 million year, right?
Wow.
And so by documenting those things, it allows us to go back and look at, what we were successful at, right? And so you want to build on your successes. You don't want to repeat your failures.
No.
But you want to build on those successes, right? And so that's one thing that we've done is document those successes so that we can go back and, figure out and track what those are and hit those over and over.
I love
exactly.
That. I love that.
And so, but yeah, with the training, it's like, we want to refine when we bring in somebody that, okay, so we do a lot of personality tests when we bring in people. So, we go through an interview process. When we're doing the interview process, we do little weird things that we require our interviewees to do. Like we require a video submitted, and when we're, depending on what position that we're hiring for, we'll specify what we want that video to be. Right?
We talked a little bit about that
week. Last week when we were or 2 weeks ago, I guess, when Malia was sending out those video requests, we had a number of people that responded with, "I would be great for this position, but I don't do videos." Sorry, you can't follow a small, simple task. So I'm not going to be interviewing you, right? You're not coming in. And then we have very unique ones, right? And so you figure out the people that think outside the box, the people that think within systems and processes.
Right.
And then you figure out, this is where this person's going to work. This is where this person's going to work. And then you bring them in and we do personality tests and figure out exactly what makes that person tick and figure out how they can be the most successful in their position. And then we start refining their talents, right?
Of course.
Their God-given talents. We turn that into successes by putting them in training that's further education because, hey, maybe they're good at this already, but we want continuing education, right? It's just like professional. You got, attorneys and accountants and things like that. You're required to have so much continuing education. Well, same thing here.
Interesting. It's a lot.
It is. It is.
I love this, though, because I get to learn so much about where I'm taking my goals and where I'm hooking into a system that's working.
Yeah.
Where I can build my systems. We talked about where are we going with this whole digital marketing thing. Let's start with Tuesdays. Let's execute every Tuesday, and then let's build it out so that we've got more and more and more and more content. We've got the clips coming. We've got the Instagram and the Twitter, and that's all linked with the Ty Lassiter brand and with Key City Capital becoming an online, digital, transparent, interactive experience for people to add comments and ask questions and all these things, because that's a part of business now.
Yeah. And well, like we were talking about this Saturday, so Memorial Weekend, right? Or no, Monday, I guess it was Monday.
Yesterday.
And we were up here. So and so that's the difference. Like so many people want to be successful, but they don't always want to do what it takes to be successful, right? Like being successful is not easy. Like I didn't wake up and I'm just successful, right? Like my partners didn't do that. Like it takes work. Like unless you win the lottery, there's no overnight success. But
and they even talk about some of those people lose all the money.
They piss it away really quickly, right? Because they don't have a system and process in place, right? But we were up here talking about that yesterday. And so even with your business, right, we're already talking about a system that you're going to be able to take, right? And an online system that's going to help systematize this whole process of creating our digital marketing business, right? Yep. And then we're already talking about some new virtual assistants and some assistants that we can put in place for you to start working towards leveraging out some of your time so you can focus on the most important tasks of the digital marketing company. Right. And then some of the transactional stuff can be handed off to people that can probably get it done faster than you can or during the night. Like a lot of the ones that we use that are overseas can do stuff that is during the night. So we work out stuff during the day. We have a list of things that need to get done. We send it to them and then they have it ready for us the next day.
Which is beautiful.
It is. It's amazing.
Yep.
But so many people I've found are so. I was talking to a guy that's buying a property from us, a couple of properties actually, this morning. Boone was we were talking to him kind of together, and so many people get caught in their mind and get so worried about fear, and all that is that's not knowing what's going to happen, right?
Right.
All fear is. It's a thought that is brought into your head because it's something that you've never done before, right? And so fear is automatically putting negative thoughts into your head when you don't know the outcome.
Right, like I got to do it all, or the video's going to be wrong,
exactly.
Or there's going to be a misspelling on Ty's subtitle, or
is that a life or death situation?
No.
No, at the end of the day, it's not going to ruin anything. You're going to get some random person that says, your name's misspelled. Like, I'm glad you noticed that, so you fix it real quick, right? Like, it's, if you can get 80% of something done by somebody else, then that frees up 80% of your time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So now you just have to focus on the 20%, bringing that to completion, right?
Absolutely.
And so, like, that was really hard for Boone and I when we partnered together early on. It was really hard for us to realize, like, the first time we started hiring people to do some of our work, we were like, oh my gosh, like we started looking at the cost.
Right.
Well, we started looking at the cost, like, oh, it's going to cost this much, and we're going to lose this much of our of the income, right? Well, what did that immediately allow us to do, though? Once we finally took that
Gain
jump,
the time back. You're buying back your time.
Exactly. We went from being able to do 1 or 2 projects to being able to do 10,
Yeah.
right? And that person, the people that we put in place, they didn't get it perfect, right? But I don't get anything perfect,
No.
right? And so maybe it wasn't up to my expectations, but then I needed to change my expectations and figure out how to portray my expectations, right? And verbally express my expectations, put everything in writing so that everybody that's involved can see this is what we expect as an end product. And then when it's not there, we know how to go back and kind of fix it, right? And bridge that gap.
Smooth it over.
Exactly. And so, we'll talk about one of the things I want to talk about is what gets you to your first 100,000 a year is 100% you, right? Like, you can get to $100,000. You can do $100,000 a year just doing 100% of the work, right? Maybe you have an assistant and an office staff or something like that, right? But if you want to do $100,000 a year, just about any business, you can put me into any business and I can probably get there, right? Maybe not, like, I'm not going to be making $8,300 a month the first 6 months.
No.
But by 6 months, it's going to be, an $8,000 to $9,000 business.
Because you can
easily,
get the systems in
right?
place.
Like, it's just hard work is all
Right.
it is, right? How hard do you want to work? But then when our first $1 million year, it was 90% us and 10% a team. But that 10% team was 3 other people. Like, we had a team of 3 additional people, and we really focused on getting them to do the transactional things that we were wasting our time doing so that we could go out and start building relationships. And I talk about all the time, 70% of your time as a business owner needs to be in building and monetizing relationships, right? And maintaining those relationships and building those relationships. And then 20% of your time is on branding and marketing, and then 10% on knowing your numbers, right? Well, so one of the first things that we did was hire out accounting and put somebody in place that could handle up the numbers, and because that's a transactional task that makes no money for your business, but it is important.
Sure does
right?
take a lot of time.
Like, I can't track our successes, and I can't see where we made mistakes if I don't know our numbers.
Yep.
Whether that's sales numbers, whether that's acquisitions numbers, how many properties a month that we're acquiring, how many that we're disposing of, how we're doing that, how many we're wholesaling, how many we're renting out, how many we're owner financing, whatever that we're doing, right? How many products we're selling in any of our businesses. Like, if I don't know those metrics, I can't make adjustments.
Right. You can't improve. You can't pull back on this
Exactly.
thing to push it forward. I get it.
Exactly. And so
you guys
once we-
talk about measuring a lot. And
We
I
do.
thought that Lakers in Lee's thing with the marginal gains, the Lakers thing was so cool to me because, again, it puts it in perspective.
Right.
You can see that because I grew up as a fan of sports. So, like, they're getting 1% better. They're measuring their metrics in all these different categories against players from other teams and against the other squads so that they could find a way to win the championship.
That's exactly right.
It's the same thing with this. It's a competitive business is a competitive sport.
It is. It's a competitive sport, but if you don't have something to measure yourself by, if you're measuring yourself by other people, then you're not going to get to where you want to be, right? Because we've talked about this. Each person is their own, each business is its own. And yeah, you've got other real estate businesses, or you've got other makeup product businesses, or you've got other supplement businesses.
Right.
It doesn't matter what it is, right? But they may be successful in their own, right? Like, you're not going to sell to everybody in America, 300 million people in America,
No
or
way.
8 billion people in the world, or whatever it is, right? So you just need a target, right? And if you're not focusing on your target, and I talk about focus narrow, cast wide, right? So if you're not focusing on your target and then casting as wide as you can of a net over that target, then you're not going to be successful, right? And so you just need to focus on what it is that you're going to do. Focus on creating the systems and processes in place to get you to that end result, right? And so if you don't ever start leveraging out, right, then you're going to get capped at your earning. And I've talked about, there's a lot of people that I've been involved with early in my business career. My dad one of my first business partners who I still partner with, but I don't do as much with them. And my first real estate business partner, there's a lot of people that I've done business with that I think have been really scared and reluctant to take a risk and put other people in place because they want so bad they have to have the final say so in everything. And they have to, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Right. And so you limit yourself to your growth potential. Right. And then those same people, when I started growing and really building and becoming successful, those same people said, you don't want to grow too fast. You want to be very careful. You're going to, you're risking a lot. You're really
Which
putting
is
yourself
classic.
Out there. Great. I'm glad you're telling me that because that's what I want to do.
That is the classic line for you're on the right path was what I was going to say.
It's exactly right. Like I want to grow past a ceiling. Like I don't have ceilings on what I'm wanting to do. Right. And so once we started putting people in place, right. Once we started really focusing, okay, we're making 100,000. We did that consistently a couple of years. Now we're ready to make $1 million. What do we need to do? Right.
Right.
So we started bringing in people. And then when we did, that allowed me to start focusing on relationships and branding and marketing, right? And then it allowed Boone kind of focused more on our numbers. And so we have monthly meetings where all of us get together, the 4 of us partners. We bring in our COO, we bring in our accounting team. We get our accounting team. They're based out of Houston, but in our Houston office, they'll conference line in, and we go through all of our numbers and our matrix together, nice. Right? And so, but that only started happening because we started leveraging, bringing people in that allowed us each to start focusing on our lane so that we could stay in our lane and focus on what we need to do to grow and build the business, right? And so, once you get to $1 million, you're kind of at that point to where you're starting to build a team around you, right?
Right.
But what gets you to $1 million is not going to get you to 10 million, yeah. Right? And so how you change is how you succeed. And I talk about that all the time. And so once we got to $1 million, we realized that to get to 10 million, we really need to build out a team. We need to start accepting that we can't do everything. And that was tough for me growing up the way that I grew up, being a type A personality, very driven, like very controlling. I've always been very controlling. Like I had to do everything because it wasn't going to be done right.
Because you wanted to do it right.
Exactly.
I'm the same way, dude.
And so once I started putting professional people in place, people that were skilled, and that's been the difference. That's what I've noticed with some of the people who get to that $1 million mark and they can't ever get past that. They've put a team in place, but typically they put a team in place that they can control. It's a team. They want to be the smartest person in the room at all times.
I don't want that.
I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to bring my input and I want to bring my ideas. And I want to say, you go implement. Like Google does a very good job of that. Google has a whole team that they advise entrepreneurial ideas. Like if you have an idea, bring it to the team and let's expand on this. And so I actually had Facebook does the same thing. So I do some stuff with Randy Zuckerberg, who is Mark's sister. She was the marketing. She was the chief marketing officer for Facebook, and she actually built Facebook Live. But one of the things that they did every single month,
Live, what's up?
Right? Exactly. Like we're using it right now.
It's an incredible thing that they did.
And so once a month they had a hackathon, and it's what they did is they pulled an all-nighter, and anybody that wanted to partake in that could stay at the Facebook offices all night, and all you did was come up with a couple of new business ideas, right?
Interesting.
And so they had thousands of people that would stay at the offices all night and try to come up with ideas, and then you submit those ideas the next day in front of the full board of directors and the team of Facebook. And that's where Facebook Live came about. So Randy and 2 of the people that she was working with in her office that night had this idea. And so they said, well, what if we did this and this and this and this? And they built out a whole idea around it. And then Facebook Live came about, right?
Wow.
And so we do things like that in our business, but that doesn't happen if you have to control everybody in your office.
Right. You have to give
You have to be able to relinquish control.
I was about to say that. Right? Give people their open source,
so
open up.
Early on in an interview process, we are very open that we are going to give the person that we're bringing in the authority to do whatever it is that we're putting them in place of. Now, we will have final say-so.
Of course.
And we'll check off, and there's going to be checks and balances to everything. But we're giving them authority to go out and do their work, right? And so if you're bringing in skilled people and people that that want to take action and want to take control and want to take ownership in what it is that they're doing, then you're going to get a higher skilled person, right? And so that's what got us to 10 million. And so now it's what gets us to 100 million. And that's going to be 90% our team and 10% us. Like,
Right.
I'm going to be relinquished out of our business, right? On a majority scale. Like, and so that's kind of what we're building for now. Like, this is going to take, for us to get to that level, we're probably going to have 45 to 50 employees. And so we're building towards that right now. And so it's been a slow and that from 1 million to 10 million was a slow process for me. Like, it was really tough for the first few months for me to step back, and like Lee would actually step in because Lee's very good with this. Like, I would try to oversee Boone, or I would oversee anybody in our team. And I would try to, oh, that's not right. And I would start trying to do something right and start trying to take control of it. And Lee would come in like, Ty, hold on.
Very
We've got this.
level-headed.
He is. He's very level-headed.
Very level-headed.
And communicates very well. Hey, Ty, let us do this. You go back and do, you go do you.
Yeah.
And so we each have our own lanes that we want to focus on. And when we start getting outside of that, that is one thing that we have put in our company bylaws, is that especially the 4 of us partners are very open to constructive criticism, right? And so we have to, in our weekly meetings, we have a short 10 minutes at the end. Hey, what do you need to work on? And so all 3 of us will tell you, Lee, here's what you need to work on. All 3 of the rest of them will say, Ty, here's what you need to work on, and everything, so that we stay focused on our lane and working at our optimal output, right? And so at no point we think that we're better than anybody else in the company, right?
Exactly.
And so that's what allows us to continue to build
different
and bring
positions on the court, different
That's exactly
positions
right.
on the ice or whatever.
Right.
All that stuff is applicable to business and
It is.
entrepreneurship.
It very well is.
And I see it more and more and more and more. And it's no wonder why a lot of the speakers that I'm a big fan of, and a lot of the motivators that I follow, and a lot of the business owners that I follow use those analogies, because it's pop culture too.
That's exactly
Sports
right.
are pop culture, so it's a great way to communicate that lesson to the audience by using, the Evander Holyfield never give up,
Right.
or the Muhammad Ali, you get beat once, you win twice to come back. It's like that kind of stuff fuels people, because it gives you the idea that, you're gonna stumble along the way, but as long as you're willing to continue to build,
Yeah.
and you're able to kind of like open yourself up. All of those people had coaches.
That's exactly right. Like,
That's another thing.
Tom-
Every person I just listed had a coach.
Yeah,
They
Tom
didn't just
Brady
show up
and
with
Drew
nobody in
Brees.
their corner.
No, not at all. Exactly. Tom Brady and Drew Brees are 2 guys that I follow distinctly. And Tom Brady, because nobody gave him a chance. Like, in high school, he didn't start till later on his junior year. And that was only because of an injury. Got to college. He almost transferred from Michigan and went back to, I think it was Cal or something that was closer to where he was from, because he wasn't getting an opportunity. And it wasn't until at that point he realized, like, he started bringing in a coach, and his mindset was starting to fall because he wasn't starting yet. And so he brought in a mindset coach. And then he brought in a nutritional coach. Yeah. And so this was in college.
Wow.
Right. And so he brought in a mindset coach, and that's when he really started becoming a leader. And it was only because of his leadership skills that he got a chance to play. It was an injury, right? But after the injury,
right? Yeah.
no, in college first.
Oh.
So in college, there was an injury as well. Like, every time he's gotten an opportunity, it's been because of an injury. But he had set himself up to get ready, right? And so his mindset was so well in place that through college, he was known for winning at the end of the game. So it would be comeback wins. So with that, like, he was not a prototypical prolific quarterback.
Right.
So he didn't have the stats to have NFL viewers coming in and saying, oh yeah, this is an NFL quarterback, right? If you're always winning, like they lost 2 or 3 games, right? And then the games that they won, they were winning in the end. Well, like, he's not sitting there throwing out stats that are just phenomenal.
Right.
Right. And so nobody gave him a chance. But because he put people in place that where he was struggling, he was able to exceed his original capabilities. Right. So like, he got his talent got him to one level, and then he brought people in to help elevate him to another level.
Wow.
Right. And then Drew Brees, you've got somebody who's just like, he shouldn't be an NFL player at all, like with his size and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I follow what it is that makes them successful, right? And try to implement that. And so That's kind of why we do a lot of the training with our full team and everything like that. But
Because you want everybody on that same frequency.
exactly, right. And so one of the things that we did once Lee and Mac and Boone and I all partnered when we started really building out our team from there. Like Boone and I already had construction people in place. We already had some assistants that we were using. We had an accountant, like a staff accountant that we were kind of using. We merged them together, and then we started leveraging them and kind of outgrew them and started building our team from there. But one of the first people that we hired was a COO. Like I'm talking a high level person. Like there was a big commitment to a financial commitment for us. Like we're taking on the commitment of somebody who has a family, right? And we're telling them that we're going to be responsible for them and we're going to make sure that they succeed, right? And so that was a big jump for us, and that was a tough decision to make, but that was probably the best decision that we ever made, because that was when we scaled the quickest, the fastest.
Wow.
We brought in a highlight, like we didn't just go out and hire a PA, a personal assistant or an administrative staff that we could pay $10 an hour to handle all of our transactional stuff, right? Like we made a commitment, a high dollar commitment, paid for her housing and relocated her from Houston to our headquarter office here, and paid a decent amount for a high level person who is highly skilled that can run our companies. We have multiple companies. We have multiple things going on. We wanted somebody that we felt confident could handle that.
Wow.
Right. And so when we did that, like the release of, or really the time that it gave us to really start focusing on what each of the individual partners needed to focus on to grow the business was phenomenal. But that was one of the scariest things that we did, was take on that commitment. But like I said, when we did, we started growing so much quicker, and we went from having, this office, we utilized, I think, eight office spaces, 8 rooms. We doubled that within, a month. And so we're opening up into more office space. We're going to end up probably taking over this whole building that we're in. And
even the music venue upstairs?
Yeah, upstairs, a music venue. Exactly. That's going to be Pat's place.
It's going to be my lair.
Yeah. And so all that happened because we're willing to get outside of our comfort zone,
right,
and continue to push our boundaries towards success, right? And we're willing to accept that we may fail, but we're not going to stop when we fail. And so this is one of the things that I learned from actually, I don't tell this story much anymore, so I'm not going to go into the whole story, but at one point I was training to get into the SEALs program, and I was training for buds. I had a SEAL instructor coach that was coaching me, and ended up having a bad injury that have had collapsed lungs since, and all kinds of stuff. But the SEALs have a rule. It's called the 40% rule. And at any time, like you take your body to failure, when you think you're done and you can't go anymore, that's your mind telling you, like, you got to stop now. I'm not prepared for this. I haven't done that. That's a fear that's set in your mind.
Right.
Your body is capable of 40% more.
Interesting.
Right. And so I do that in everything that we do. I never give up. Right. When I set a goal or an expectation, I'm not going to give up. Like, I'm going to go conquer that mountain. And that's how the 4 of us team members are. And that's why we constantly, every week we have meetings, every month we have meetings so that everybody stays on the same page towards what it is, the systems and processes that we can fix, that we can add that 1% to help us get to that end result. Right. And so I knew that when we brought on Malia as our COO, that, if we had setbacks, that's okay, but we're bringing her on for this expectation so that we can go from having 4 businesses at the time to having 10, and we're up to 9 of them now.
Wow.
We're implementing our 10th now, and our 11th and 12th, right? And so we knew that, with these first businesses that we have set up, like, it's going to be tight, but she's going to be able to leverage us so that we can go do more, right? And so maybe if we have a short-term failure, if it's really tough for 1, 2, or 3 months, great. We're gonna move forward, and we're gonna do whatever it takes to
blow through the
succeed
wall.
and to blow through that,
Yeah.
right? And so we brought her on, and then quickly thereafter we brought on a full-time construction manager or project manager that manages all of our construction projects.
Right.
That oversees.
I was going to ask about how do you get to all those properties? You got somebody in charge of that.
So we have somebody that all they're in charge of is going and walking our projects that are under construction. And so we have 10 project leads that run each of those construction projects. So right now I think we have 33 or 34 projects under construction.
Wow.
And so those 10 leads have teams under them. And so each of them can run different sizes. Like one of our 10 leads, he can only do 1 or 2 projects at a time. We got a couple of them that are on apartment complexes right now. They can do multiple. And so we've actually got two apartments that are under construction right now. And so each of them have a team, and they have a lead, and those leads have their full teams. When those guys are not on apartments, they can actually do up to 10 projects at a time. Their teams can. And so they all vary in size and capabilities. And we understand that. And so we try to keep them focused on, well, if Joe can only do 1 or 2 properties at a time, we're not going to give him 5. We learned that the hard way early on. That was a failure that we had. We tried, we started him out on 2 properties and he did good there, and we did 2 more and he did good there, and we gave him 5. And we went from him being able to produce, about $1,000 of work a day to about $300 worth of work a day. And so it took us 4 months to do those 5 projects that should have each of them taken a month. And it killed us for those 4 months, right?
Yep.
And so, we learned those things. And then we brought Matt on, who now Matt's sole responsibility is handling all those things. And so like this morning, Matt was handling city permits that we used to, Boone or Lee or myself or Mac would have to go down to the city and handle all the permitting process, take the drawings and do all this and meet the inspector on site. So now we don't do that anymore. Like, I can't tell you how many times I had to do that. And it's a huge waste of time because the inspector gives you a window and he's going to be on a property between 8 and 12 and he doesn't show up until 10:30, and then he's got problems and he red tags something. You got to go back and you got to fix all this stuff. And so all that still happens.
And that takes away from you acquiring
more
property, generating more revenue.
Having a meeting with a potential new investor
or
whatever, right? Client relations, whatever that may be. So now, like, Matt spent his morning at the Hearst, city of Hearst, right? Handling permits with a new project that we're doing.
Which is just hugely helpful.
It is. Because we didn't have to do anything. Like, this project, it was a major burnout house. Huge fire. Like, the whole backside of the house was burned off. And like, I've been to the house 1 time or 2 times now, I think. And that was just to get pictures and to see it, and because it was one of the 3 biggest fire damage houses that we've ever done.
Oh, wow.
And, I wanted to see what the scope of work that we were about to get into.
Right.
And like, Matt's handled all that. There was a major issue. Previous owner, before the fire, had taken out a wall and found out that a lot of the ceiling joists were sagging because it was a wall that did bear a little bit of weight. And so it wasn't a full load bearing wall, but it did have some weight. And so the ceiling was starting to sag there. So we didn't want that wall in. We were also going to widen the hallway up a little bit, which was going to move walls even more and probably cause more sagging. So we found out that we were going to have to put in a header. So Matt worked with the structural engineer, getting all that stuff in place, figuring out what header we needed to have, where it needed to be placed, working with the city, making sure that they got that all okayed and stuff. And so we got the final okay this morning on all that stuff. And
awesome.
I haven't been a part of any of that at all, because we've put professional people in place that will take ownership in what they're doing.
I love it.
And now I'm confident in handing those things off.
Absolutely. Wow, that's incredible, man. And as we go down the line and we go down what we were going to talk about, it's just, I learned so much from these. Like, since I moved to this area, I've learned so much about what I need to do and about, like you said, just 1% better every day, and learning systems that I can use for all of our social media to put it all together into one distribution process.
You were on point yesterday when you came in. I loved it. Like, you're like, okay, I've got this system that we can use, and here's what it can do, and it can do this and this and this. And so then I'm sitting there thinking through, and I'm like, well, I already know a guy who can probably run that system and do the work. So you get the content ready for him, send him the content unedited, untouched, giving access to the system, and then he does all the stuff.
Boom, boom, boom,
right?
boom.
And so because now you don't go back and do the
it goes from us just doing the Tuesday and just doing a clip to us doing the Tuesday, and then we've got this. It'll be updated on iTunes. We're going to be on Spotify soon. If you guys are listening, you'll be able to replay these audio in your car and stuff like that. And that's all part of the process. But like you said, you got to take the action first.
Exactly.
Doing one Facebook Live isn't going to build our Tylacid Cashcast page. It's not going to work. No. You got to do it every week. We got to grow.
Got to have consistency.
Absolutely. Right. And eventually we'll do some interviews, and we'll bring Lee and Boone and a couple of those guys.
Yeah, so probably in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to start bringing in, I've got a good list of people that I want to start bringing in. These are some international partners that I've worked with. I've got a guy in Australia that's going to be fantastic to talk about scaling and growing a business. He's got a fabrication company. He fabricates metal parts for drilling wells or
Wow.
mining for mines. Really cool company. And this guy's in his 20s, like a young guy.
Oh, wow.
Just phenomenal. And same situation as me. Started out a lot of it himself, him and a couple of guys doing all the work. And now he's leveraged it. And him and his wife, they travel all the time now and have a lot of fun. Or his soon to be
That's
wife.
amazing.
And just scaled his business by putting good skilled labor in places and good skilled workers in places and building out a team.
Yep.
An office
And the
team.
systems, I think when you said systems to me, I started thinking about, okay, well, cool. I mean, sitting around and learning this is great. Now let's implement.
Right.
Let's take that and think about, okay, I can make 10 million songs in one day, but the publishing every day and set a schedule, get some software that can schedule that for you, find someone that's a partner, that's a virtual assistant or whatever, and fire all that out.
Yeah.
And now you got 10 posts showing up on 10 different walls each day,
exactly right.
and you're not sitting on your computer all day.
That's exactly right. I've got, a couple of other people. I've got Polly, who came up last week. We were talking about Polly out in Tennessee. And so I'm going to get him on. He has a construction company, has a really cool story. So we'll kind of talk to him about that, his story and how he's become successful, really leveraged out his business, construction company, and a property investment company as well. Got another friend, partner who does multifamily investing. He's out of Canada. And so he does multifamily stuff, and he also has a construction company. At one point, he almost lost everything, had to go back, and he actually kind of didn't have his business set up exactly the way it probably should have been. Almost lost everything, went back, went hands-on, went to work, started building his team out again. Now massively successful.
Oh, wow.
Have a couple of real estate investors out of South Africa that have done some stuff with. And so we'll bring them on. We'll bring in our team. Like
That's
I said,
amazing. It really is. And it's like you say, I mean, you got to put the game on the line. Like, I was in a situation where we were in San Diego and I wanted to scale my business, and I thought the right move was the San Francisco Bay Area, and my heart wasn't in it in that area. And we talked on the phone, and it was a tough conversation. I was in tears.
Yeah.
I was hurting emotionally, and I'm like, listen, you guys came into my life at a time where I have so much to learn, and I've got all these skills, but how am I going to take these skills and hone them and build it? And you're like, dude, if your plants
this,
come
this,
here,
this, and this, and this, and we're going to do this.
Right. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to move to Little Island in about a week. So, and here we are. And you have to take those chances, and you have to be confident. And I think that sometimes you have to separate a little bit of emotion from that.
You do, yeah.
Because it's easy to want to sit on the beach with a margarita, and I'm telling you guys, and I've said this a million times before, if there was a way to sit on the beach and drink margaritas and play guitar and make millions of dollars, I would have figured it out.
Right, exactly.
It doesn't exist.
No, I mean
it doesn't
is hard
exist.
Work. It's hard work, and you've got to be willing to do whatever it takes.
Absolutely.
I've always playing football in high school and then getting a scholarship to college. Like I had that goal. Like I don't know how many times I was told you're not going to play football in college.
Absolutely.
You're too small, right? And I said I'm going to do whatever it takes. Like I wasn't just going to do my best. I wasn't going to show up every day and do my best. I was going to do whatever it took. Whatever it took. And so that's the same thing in business, in life, and you're talking about getting your emotions out. And so that is one thing that I struggle with is I'm very good at taking my emotions out and not having any emotions and just being uber focused on business and doing whatever it takes. Right. And so that doesn't work out with a wife and family at home very well. Right. And so that's where hCa does a phenomenal job of balancing me. And it takes work. Like, we had our marriage coach was supposed to work with us this afternoon. I'm traveling. hCa's got something set up, so we had to reschedule. But that's something else that, like we were talking about earlier. I invest in every aspect of my life. I've got nutritional coaches. Had a meeting with them this morning. We've got marriage and counseling coaches, right, for our life. And then business coaches throughout my business. And that's to make sure that I am always operating at the peak potential that I can be operating.
Right. That's just awesome, man. And again, it's like in my position, if I'm going to be building brands and building my own brand, who do I want to position myself around that's going to raise me to the highest level that I can operate at.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like I was talking to some musician friends the other day that were like, man, it's just like you went from literally, after leaving the Tom Petty tour, singing in the corner of the bar and in St. Louis to touring with Grammy nominated artists and cutting commercials with Vanilla Ice and using your musical streaming skills. I mean, this is what we used to do for American Idol. We would run the audio. We would run the video to NBC. It was just like you watched the Blues and the Bruins last night.
Yeah.
It was a broadcast for that show. But now with Facebook Live and all these tools, we can now build the Ty and Pat brand and coexist between someone who has experience in one aspect of it and someone who has
no
completely
experience in that
different
aspect.
experience that
Exactly.
needs to broadcast that experience to the world.
Right.
And it's over time that creates more authenticity in the marketplace,
Right.
more trust in the marketplace, and again, more people that are like, oh, well, how can I be a part of Key City Capital?
Exactly.
Well, Kyle Beck was on here. Kyle and I have been friends for a while. He's like, dude, you really think I can get a property for $10,000 and then do this? And I guarantee you, I mean, he works with Sean Whalen and Sean's group.
Yeah.
I'm sure that stuff eventually pings back and forth, and that person eventually gets the right advice from the right people and sends us a message 3 months from now.
That's exactly right.
And we might think we're beating our heads against the wall at some point, and we get those messages, and that's what makes it worth it, man.
It is, yeah. Well, I mean, it's like you just said, like you had experience and expertise in one thing that I had no idea in. And I tried to do our social media branding and stuff myself for a little while. I had no idea what I was doing, right? And then I started looking, who's got experience, who's doing things, who's putting themselves in the places that I want to be with this brand. And that's when we came across each other, right? And started building that relationship. And so I immediately said, we got to do a podcast.
Right.
When can you get to Texas? Right. Like, how can we figure this thing out?
And it's funny, all that stuff happens at the right time.
It does.
It's just,
it all starts
to just mesh. It was the right place for my family.
Uh-huh.
It was the right move. We're so happy. Everything's working out, and it's gonna grow. And these are the foundational, us putting our feet in the water steps.
Right.
And it's like you guys who have been listening. I mean, you can hear. I mean, 100,000 to 1 million to 10 million. This dude is building a $100 million company. I mean, this isn't just batting practice here.
Right.
This is the big leagues. And it's like I said,
batting practice every day.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
where do you want to align yourself with in the marketplace? Who do you want to align yourself with in the marketplace that's going to raise you up to a whole new level?
Exactly.
You know, like that Vanilla Ice intro commercial that we did doesn't happen if you're not pushing yourself to the next level.
Yeah. I mean, I had been out of the country in my life twice prior to that. Once I'd been to Mexico, just random vacation, and then college graduation. I had family. My grandfather, my aunt, took me to Switzerland and Italy. Right,
and that was South Africa, right?
Yeah, and so like I had
literally the other
experience-
side of the world.
no experience getting outside the country and doing anything other than sightseeing for a little bit, right? And so when I was approached to speak to 2,500 people in South Africa, I was like, first of all, I didn't even realize South Africans spoke English at the time, right?
How would you know that?
Exactly.
Right.
Like, I mean, I had no international experience. And so like I felt this big, right? Like I was like,
yeah, it's
I
scary.
want to do that, but that's scary. Like, and when I walked out on that stage and it's like, I can't even see the full crowd. Like you see the lights and like, you can't even see everybody. And it's like, what are these people thinking of me,
and it's
right?
so strange because people are always like, man, weren't you like, because I've been in a little bit of situations like that too. And are you so nervous?
Yeah.
And you are a little bit. And I think that actually forces you to perform better.
It does. And so,
because if you prepare for something like that, like I'm not going to play the song any differently than I did in my bedroom when I played it 800,000 times.
And so,
it still goes the same way.
Yeah. And I think that's what you bring up a really good point. A lot of business owners don't do, right? It's, if you were a sports player or whatever it is, if you played sports in high school, college, at any level, you practiced, right?
All the time.
Entrepreneurs get into business and they don't practice business. Why not?
Right.
Like, why are you not practicing? Like, and so for me, when I give a presentation now, like I go back to the exact same system that I did when I was playing football.
Yep.
So I go through the same protocol. I prepare for the day the exact same way.
Yep.
I have a pregame meal just like I used to, and I have a a playlist that I listen to, and I zone out. Like I completely zone out everything else that's going on. And so now when I walk out onto a stage or I do anything, like I'm not paying attention to what other people are thinking.
Not at
because
all.
what they think is none of my business, right?
Absolutely.
I've got to think about what I need to do to project whatever it is that I'm offering to the crowd, right?
Project is a good point too, because I know that I had the 10X presentation. I had 10 minutes to play, and it was right as people were going to be kind of like leaving and coming into the room on this lunch break at Mandalay Bay. There's 10,000 people there.
Yeah.
And I had it down to a system. I'm going to do the little custom 30-second tune that I wrote, and do my little super kick.
Exactly.
Because I
love
want
that.
the first 30 seconds
to draw.
I want to drop the opponent in the first 30 seconds. I want to go to hammer the KO.
Right.
So even if people leave, if I see them in the hallway 30
They
minutes
remember
later,
that person
dude,
that
that
came in.
was so awesome, dude. We had to roll. We had calls coming in, but dude, you killed it up there.
Exactly.
Because I have to come at them. I have to project
You lose your crowd.
everything in the first 40 seconds.
Right. And that was the thing, like for that first presentation that I did to 2,500 people, it was like, what do I do to catch their attention in the first 30 seconds?
Exactly.
Because if you don't catch their attention when you first get up there, they zone out.
Totally.
Right? And they start doing something else. They start thinking about something else. So you have to
Everyone's got their
immediately draw that
phones
attention.
and their tablets
Exactly.
and booklets at these things. There's always some distraction.
And so it's not always just giving knowledge, right? Like you have to be able to give knowledge, but you have to do it in a way that draws attention.
Yep.
And so
There's a little bit of the entertainment business involved in
There
that.
is, there is. And so now that's something that I do. I practice business daily. Like if I'm getting ready for a presentation, if I know I have a presentation coming up, like I'm practicing. I wake up in the morning and I practice for an hour or however long my presentation is. Like I'll go through it. Now I may skip through some of the stuff that's monotonous. Like I know, I know the acquisitions process of a property and I know how to go through that process, right? Or I know, and so I can cite that stuff like
You
the
know
back of
how
my
long
mind,
that
right?
is, and you know how
Exactly.
it fits into the puzzle.
But what I'm working on is a presentation. What I'm going to bring in as a story, right? Or what I'm going to bring in as an example, or what I'm going to do at this point, right? And how I'm going to use different words and actions to maintain the audience's presence. And so many entrepreneurs I talk to, it's like, well, have you practiced making offers? Well, no, I want this property, and so I'm going to make an offer on it. Like, really? If you want this property, you should have been making 100 offers up to this point. Like, you can't be focused on one property. Like, I don't even. Lee and I were going through our properties this morning on. We're getting ready to send over a portfolio to one of our lenders to do a refi process, and so we were going through it, and like, I think like we had. About 75 or 80 properties that we were going through that are either finalized construction and they have bodies in the house, or they're in construction, or they're about to start construction. So we were going through that list, and 75% of it, I had no clue what the addresses were. It's like, well, I don't know what this one is. And so that's when we have to use our team. It's like, well, we acquired this one. Here's the details on it. Here's the details on this one. Right. And so, that's kind of the thing. But if I'm not practicing that, like if I'm not practicing going through making offers, if I'm not practicing cold calling somebody, like I used to do that all the time. Like I would randomly call my wife, or I'd randomly call Boone and say, here's the situation. And then we would start going back and forth, going through a negotiation
you want to stay
process.
hot.
Exactly.
You want to stay hot.
And so many people, it's just like, oh, we need to buy a property, so we're going to call somebody up and we're going to try to negotiate, but they haven't practiced. Or,
and it's just like,
I need to raise $100,000, and they haven't ever.
You got to
worked
practice.
They haven't ever practiced a capital raising scenario.
It's so funny, and that goes back to what I talk about with digital marketing. Like sometimes I just grab the guitar and just make funny songs.
Yeah.
Because it's just good practice.
It is.
Or like I wanted to practice a motion background in a video with like sports clips. So I busted out the little blues song.
Yeah.
And it's just like that got 28,000 organic views.
So one thing that one of my coaches does is he'll give me, he'll say, okay, you got to do a 5-minute presentation on this topic, and he'll give me a random word like elephant.
Oh, and that's like your homework for the week.
No, like I've got 10 minutes.
Right
I've
now.
got 10 minutes to prepare, and then I've got to give a 5-minute presentation on it, right?
Oh,
and
wow.
So, but I've got to be influential with elephant. Like, how do I do that?
Yeah,
right?
like you got to really.
So you got to come up with a story. You've got to come up with how am I going to draw the attention right off? And so that's practicing business. Like it's being able to think on your toes. Like I don't just randomly be able to think on my toes. It's because I've practiced. Yeah. And so now when I'm in a position that I might not normally be in, well, I've practiced for that position. You can
execute, even if you're against the ropes, you can push your way back out of that. Exactly. I get that. Yeah, I mean, it's essential is to keep yourself sharp, keep yourself hot. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
Right.
If it's a guitar or rollerblading or running or lifting. I've been on my nutrition and on my lifting and running since I got here over a month, and I'm like already feeling
I can already tell
so much better.
Yeah.
Just energy wise, all these different things, my systems, and I notice it in the work. Mm-hmm. Like the stuff that I'm putting out, it's the way I want it to look. It's starting to get sharper. It's starting to get a little cleaner, and you notice that as you go.
About your surroundings and about yourself,
right?
And you're confident in any situation that you might be in. The results are better.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And again, that comes from who are you putting yourself around?
Yeah.
You know, who's giving you the kind of advice that you need to get inside your head to say, all right, well, here's what I need to do.
Right.
Because you can go to all the conferences you want and go to all that stuff, but if you don't implement those skills and those tasks and those systems that work for other people, you're not going to get those people's results.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, biggest thing, like, takeaway today is you've got to start putting successful people in place, right? Start bringing in people who have talent. And then it's your job to bring that talent out and to build that talent for them, right? They've gotten a talent that they've been given, a gift that they've been given, and they just don't know how to hone it yet. So start working on finding those people, implementing them into your business, and compounding on that talent for them so that it can become success for your business.
Absolutely.
Right?
I love it, dude.
All right.
Rock and roll.
Good
We'll
stuff.
see you guys soon.